Okay, moving on. I do want to talk about Adrien Rabiot. Very interesting and fascinating. And he's gone to Marseille, though. He's gone to Marseille on a freebie. Should we be surprised, David?
I mean, looking at their summer, probably it's not. This it is the place where all the broken and disused toys are ending up.
Oh, that's harsh on Rabiot, isn't
I
it?
mean, is it? I don't know. It's just... I mean, it's a fascinating story. It's a fascinating deal. And I just can't help but think he's overestimated his value. And we're going to talk about his mother very soon as well, because you have to talk about his mother when it comes to Adrien Rabiot.
Mum's the word.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I can't help feel he's gone through summer. They've overestimated his value. The big offers haven't come. The Liverpools, the Man Uniteds, who he had been linked with, they haven't come around, and he's been left, at the end of the summer when everyone's back in pre-season training, when everyone's back with new clubs, season's up and running, and he's got no one. And I think it's a move of circumstance.
But he's not a broken toy, though, is he, Andy?
Well, funnily enough, I think you look at his form last season for Juventus, it's the best club season that he's had in a really long time, maybe ever. And I think Rabiot of the last 2 years, because he's taken the 2022 World Cup, in which he was fantastic, has finally been the Rabiot that he always should have been. Because even when he came through the academy at PSG, the talent was obvious, but where to play him was not obvious. Now, part of that, of course, you're coming through, and like PSG have this unbelievable midfield at the time of Verratti, Thiago Motta, who we talked about for, Blaise Matuidi. You're not picking anyone ahead of them. And I kind of looked at that at the time, and I remember I said this, maybe on one of the earlier OTCs, that I could almost see Rabiot becoming a third centre-back or something like that because of how good he is on the ball, because of his poise, because he's got physical strength as well. But it was difficult to find him to settle, to find a spot. Now, where he's really benefited in the last little while at Juventus is, funnily enough, due to the misfortune of one of his international teammates, Paul Pogba, because Paul Pogba always looked best at Juventus on the left of a three. Yeah. Now, when Pogba is injured, and then obviously his career completely runs aground with the drugs ban, that leaves the spot for Rabiot to be his best self. So not being wedged in at left back, or, someone with talent who is kind of in the Pogba zone, really. Someone with an incredibly high natural level of talent who no coach can seemingly work out. So rather than building the team around them, they just stick them somewhere and expect them to develop. And it's quite hard to develop when you're not aware of what the demands on you are all the time, when those demands are changing. It's a very particular player who can cope with that, and not, I would suggest, a player with the sort of ego that players of his sort of talent generally tend to have. Now, if we're talking about now, can he be a huge success at Marseille? Yes. Has he put himself in a position where it's difficult? Yes. I think
difficult
so.
In what sense?
Well, he hasn't had a pre-season.
Right.
Like we can't expect him to turn up. Think of some of the best players ever to have played the game. Like with a pre-season, I think the best possible scenario for him is a quite good season from this point. And I think if you look at it on paper, him and Højbjerg next to each other, it looks pretty formidable.
I mean, that looks tough. You don't want to play against that.
No. But on the other hand, he's put himself in a position with, I would say, questionable career management. We're not talking about him on the pitch now. We're talking about him off the
100%.
pitch.
You have to discuss this when you discuss Rabiot.
Well, yeah, and he's put himself in a position where Marseille have got a lot of pressure on them, and he's got a lot of pressure on him, not least because he comes from PSG.
Well, look, there's no getting away from it, is there, David? This is something of a come down in terms of career trajectory for Rabiot.
Yeah, like I say, I think he probably had that Euros and was looking at his contract ending at Juve and said, right, okay, I'll either beat Juve, one of the biggest clubs in Italy,
And they wanted him to stay.
Who will be challenging at the top. And then there was lots of talk of Liverpool, Man United, Atletico Madrid as well. And again, if going back to his mother here, I mean, and maybe I think some stuff is probably exaggerated, other stuff is not. Just one of the reports apparently that within negotiations that she was telling Atleti where Rabiot needs to play. And Atleti then broke it off on the back of that.
I bet Diego Simeone loved that.
I just wanted that. I would love to have been a fly in the wall, that conversation between Andrea Berta, sporting director of Atleti, telling Simeone, by the way, we've been chatting with Rabiot. His mum's been saying where he should play in your team.
Diego Simeone may not like it, but isn't that what you would expect a good agent to be doing? Is she not doing the right thing in there?
I think to ask the question, not to tell you the answer. I think is maybe it. To ask the question, you're absolutely right. I want to know if I'm a player who's going to sign for a club, exactly what role I'm going to have, exactly where I'm going to play. Of course, I would want to know that. But I think, in football, reputation becomes reality quite quickly, and I think when a parent is the agent of a player, that is always questioned in football. And we've got to say as well, more so when it's your mum, because I think when we look at, say, when Mauro Icardi had Wanda, his wife is his agent, like a lot of people looked down their nose at that, and a lot of their criticisms were basically based on sexism. Now, for what it's worth, Wanda was an amazing agent for him. She got, I think, 30% more than PSG really wanted to pay out of them. Can you imagine doing that to Nasser Al-Khelaifi? Unbelievable. And she got him a permanent deal there when he didn't really want to go. She got him to Galatasaray and managed to keep most of his wages intact. So, look, she did an absolutely great job. And because she's a media personality and quite front foot forward, I think people ridiculed her in a way that they never should have, because she was a great agent for him. Now, I think this is something a little bit different. I think when you've got a parent, male or female, that is managing your career, the problem is they can see the collective even less than a normal agent can. I think when they're dealing with My Little Prince, I think it's a lot different. So I think certainly there's something in her manner, and there's something in the manner of the people around him, which is projecting. He's a bit too much like hard work.
Yeah, I can see that.
Which is an issue, because everyone knows he's got the talent to play for any of these clubs.
This isn't the first time we've talked about Madame Rabiot on the continent. Not at all. And Andy may have a point there. I don't doubt that. I wonder though, is it the same for any other family member being an agent? Because, we've had the issue, not least with Paul Pogba that we mentioned a moment or two ago.
Well, that's a whole different can of worms.
Of course it is. Of course. But it wasn't, just Paul Pogba. Other footballers, as you know, have had brothers managing them or being their agents or whatever it is. Is it the same, or is the parent thing, as Andy alluded to, a particular problem? Because you see your child in a certain way. Everybody thinks their child is a genius.
Well, quite a few players have their brothers as agents. That's quite a common thing.
Nicholas Anelka, I remember, that was a huge problem at the time. That's
a lot gets made of it. But there's several high-profile players now who have their brother as their agent. But to answer your question, yes, I do think it's a bit more problematic when it's the parent, for the reasons that Andy's just explained. I think there's a different type of dynamic there, and I think that's the issue. And look, in regards to this particular case, look, clubs talk. Clubs talk amongst themselves.
It's a small community, isn't it?
It is. There's a lot of clubs where it's a small community in terms of how they handle with each other. And they'll be saying, look, we spoke to Rabiot last week. Well, we spoke to his mother. My word, wouldn't deal with her again. And then one club hears that, and word just starts getting around. And the big clubs go, can't be bothered with that. Can't bother going through with agent commissions for that. Can't be bothered dealing with all that in negotiations. Not really. We'll look elsewhere. I think that's potentially hurt him as well.
Yeah. Oh, although being a free agent isn't unique in this part of the season.
No.
This time around. And I'm presuming the reason why we're seeing the likes of Anthony Martial going to Aiko Athens and Ivan Perisic signing for PSV at this late stage, and Rabiot again going to Marseille, is partly because of the financial situations that all the clubs have got, and this particular transfer window, we know was idiosyncratic, if I might put it that way.
Yeah, you're right. And I think you've got a lot of players out there who are not prepared to accept what the market is, and for that reason, you end up not signing. You end up not signing for someone. Now, I think, as a player, players are going to have to adjust to this, because I don't think this is a one-off window in that sense. I think this will happen in like the window after, because of course it will only happen in summer windows. That's when players are out of contract. But I think that if you look at, say, how Paulo Dybala managed to readjust when he left Juventus, so he signed a deal which was very conditional with Roma. So it's like, well, okay, if you perform in the first year, you get a second year that pays you more, and then you get a third year that pays you more, or whatever, like a backloaded contract. Because firstly, that gives teams, it gives you a chance to prove yourself. It gives teams an opportunity to figure it out financially and balance the books as they go down the line. Of course, Barcelona have been backloading contracts for a while for very different reasons. But I think you just have to be a bit more humble and a bit more realistic. Because like I said, I think players like Rabiot, Martial in particular, have really disadvantaged themselves, because that long without playing regular football, that long without doing team training, whatever you think of, let's take Rabiot for example, whatever you think of the French league, that is like a steep climb. You think that like Lyon have got a game at the weekend, Marseille have got a game at the weekend at Lyon. Can he start? Almost certainly not. Can he start the game after that? Well, I don't know. But it's going to be really hard. And the amount of pressure that will be on him if he's 60% or 75% will be unbelievable, because he's a big name and he's there to be shot out, because he's really closely associated with PSG, and he's the second player that Marseille have signed this summer who's previously said in public, I would never play for Marseille in a million years, which is quite interesting. So, I mean, it's a very Marseille way of things, Marseille way of doing things. It's very risk reward, you know, like the potential rewards are huge, but so are the potential risks. And it is quite funny. We'll talk about the pressure on the club. Like loads of French pundits have come out this week and said on telly, well, they've got to be title contenders now. It's like, well, really? Do they?
I asked you that question, whether it was last week or the week before's OTC.
Did I make the same face?
No. What you said, what actually you did. Now that I saw it again, you made exactly the same face. And your answer was too early in the season. Yes, but I'll ask the question again. But to you, David, can you see Marseille doing maybe what they need to do over PSG in Ligue 1 this season?
No, it's Marseille. It's going to be interesting. Again, it's going to be an exciting watch. They're going to be exciting for different reasons to what Juventus are going to be exciting for. But it's going to be an exciting, intriguing watch no matter what. But no, I don't think they are.